information sessions, and this first one is targeted at students. I'm Dorian Arnold, and my co-host is Sally Ellingson, and we will both introduce ourselves more thoroughly throughout the course of this conversation. So let me start with introducing myself, and I'll give a little bit of my background so that you can understand that, of course, at one point I was in your shoe, a student not knowing much about computer science or high performance computing. And this is just a little bit of my story and how I got to where I am today. Originally, I'm from Belize, which is a small country in Central America. It's considered a Central American country and also a Caribbean country, so we're a part of the West Indies as well. And I grew up in Belize and went to school through the first 2 years of college in Belize. From Belize, I ventured to Regis University, which is a small Jesuit college that is in Denver, Colorado. If you don't know, as you'll find out, Denver actually happens to be the host city for SC23 as well. But that's where I first ventured into computer science and completed my bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics. From there, I went to the University of Tennessee to do a master's degree in computer science. It's where I learned about systems programming and that it became a thing I loved. I started to do systems programming in the context of high performance computing at the University of Tennessee. And after I completed my master's degree, I went to work in a laboratory called the Innovative Computing Laboratory at the University of Tennessee. That is a lab that is all about high performance computing. In fact, my first opportunity to go to SC was as a research associate in that lab. We had an exhibit booth. You might ask, what is that? What is an exhibit booth? We'll learn about that throughout the rest of this conversation. What's notable about the Innovative Computing Laboratory, if you are able to hone in on the picture, you probably can't. That is Professor Jack Bengara. He was the director of the Innovative Computing Laboratory. He has since retired, but he was also the winner of the 2022 Alan Turing Award. You may know that that is the highest honor that a computer scientist can get. And a member of our community for the first time, the high performance computing community, won that award. I got my PhD at the University of Wisconsin. From there, I was an assistant and an associate professor at the University of New Mexico. And then I moved to Emory University about 6 years ago in 2017, where I'm an associate professor and the director of our graduate program. And of course, I have a long history of different types of engagements with the SC conference. And so far, it's culminated with me serving as the conference chair or general chair of SC23. So that's just a little bit about who I am and my pathway. The main things we want to do, right? Again, this is an information session that is for you. We want to make sure that you understand what the SC conference is about, and in particular, what the SC23 conference is about. There will be an in-person and a digital experience for the conference, and both are wonderful opportunities for you to engage. We want you to learn about the Students at SC program. So Sally Ellingson is the chair of the Students at SC program, and she will tell you all about that program, and including the opportunities to attend through that program. And then most of all, we want to inspire you to appreciate how wonderful the opportunity to be in high performance computing and to attend a conference like SC would be. And hopefully that means we get to see you in person in Denver. And if not in person, we get to see you remotely as you attend the digital experience of the conference. So what is SC, right? So SC actually doesn't stand for anything. It used to be a long time ago, it stood for supercomputing, and it was the supercomputing conference. But many years ago, it was recognized that there are different classes of computers that can be classified as high performance computing, not just supercomputers. For example, you can have high performance clusters and other types of machines. And so it was decided to broaden the scope of the conference from just supercomputers to SC, right? To include all types of high performance computing. Now, people will still call it the supercomputing conference, et cetera, but technically SC doesn't stand for anything anymore. But the conference is the International Conference for High Performance Computing, Networking, Storage, and Analysis. So that's the conference series. You will learn that this conference has been going on for many decades. But one of the first things I want to do is help us appreciate what is high performance computing in and of itself, right? We expect that there's a range of different backgrounds and levels of exposure to computing and high performance computing and the conference. And we want to make it clear that SC is a place for everyone, right? You could be an expert in the space. You could be a novice and a first timer. Maybe you don't even know yet how to spell HPC. There's a place for you. We want to help you understand how this community can be a part of your future. So what is high performance computing? It's a branch of computing that involves supercomputers or computer clusters or other types of high performance computing systems. And we generally use these machines to perform complex, computationally intensive tasks that require large amounts of compute capabilities. Those capabilities can include processing power, memory capacity, storage, data transfer, right? It's basically computing at its highest bounds. HPC systems are designed to provide extremely high computational performance and efficiency. So those are some of the things that we focus on as we try to build and design these types of systems. And it enables scientists and engineers from many domains, from weather forecasting to climatology to material science, engineering, and finance, you name it. Folks are using high performance computing to help them learn more, discover more, innovate more in their domain of expertise. Now you may ask, why was this in quotes? Well, it was because I asked ChatGPT to do my homework for me. And so ChatGPT actually offered this wonderful, I think, description of what high performance computing is. It's actually a high performance tool in and of itself, right? It's a prototype of a large language model, and it uses intense amounts of computational power and data to deliver the generative properties that you may have experimented with. These are the types of areas, computer science and research areas, that are involved in HPC, right? Everything from, computer algorithms to architecture, machine learning, storage, data analytics, performance analysis and measurement, cloud computing, networks. One of the things you'll see here is that you might say, well, what isn't high performance computing? And the answer is any element of computing that you do at large enough scales can be considered high performance computing. And that is one of the wonderful things about HPC and the SC conference, right? Is that if you're interested in any element of computer science, whether it be at the applications or computing, I should say, whether it be at the application boundary closer to the user or further away from the user and closer to the system, or somewhere in the middle. Doing those types of things, exploring those types of interests at scale, at large scale, constitutes what we call high performance computing. Said differently, if you're interested in any element of computing or computer science, there's probably an interest for you in HPC and at the SC conference. So now, what is SC? We've explained a little bit about what HPC and high performance computing is. Well, SC is the premier high performance computing conference in the world. Every November, thousands of people, and we're not exaggerating, literally thousands, I'll show the numbers on an upcoming slide, spend a week wherever the conference is hosted, attending and helping to deliver a wonderful set of technical and professional events and sessions. Right? These people constitute researchers, engineers, educators, students, all wanting to learn more about HPC and the cutting edge innovations therein, or to share their research, their works, their technologies that are involved in HPC. Because there are so many people there, it's also an opportunity to grow, right? Network, to communicate, and just expand yourself professionally. So that is, in a nutshell or in a slide, what the SC conference is. The first SC conference was held in 1988. So what that means is SC23, to be held in this November, will be the conference's 35th anniversary. While Sally and I are here representing the conference, it takes a lot of planning. The planning actually starts 3 years in advance. So our first meetings about SC were held in 2020. That's when the first set of planning started for this conference. And it represents the effort of a large team. So in total, there are over 700 volunteers and contractors and vendors that help to participate in one way, shape, or form in the conference that hopefully you will get to experience in November. This just shows the attendance of the conference over the years. So the very first conference was held in 1988, and it had about 1,500 participants. The largest conference was in SC19, which also happened to be in Denver, and it had about 14,000 attendees. And then the COVID years hit, so SC20 was completely online with about 7,000 participants. SC21 was a hybrid conference, split almost 50-50, with about half the participants in person and half the participants online, roughly still about 7,000. And then we started a major rebound last year with SC22 that was in Dallas. We had almost 12,000 participants in total, and a majority of those participants were in person with us in Dallas. We're hoping that the SC23 numbers blows this away. One of the things we would love to see is the in-person attendance be larger than it has ever been before. And the remote attendance, people coming in online for the digital experience, also being more than we've ever seen before. So we'd love to see, for example, 14 or 15,000 people in person, and who knows, another 5 or 10,000 people online. That would be wonderful. Spread the word to your friends and anyone else that in your network that might be interested in the conference or in computing in general, and in particular in high performance computing. We'd love to see you in Denver in November. That's the punchline that we will keep saying over and over again. Why should you attend the conference, right? Well, first and foremost, it is to learn about the latest high-performance computing technologies and scientific and research advancements that are being made in that domain. So here we'll be on the bleeding edge of all the things HPC. Now, don't let that intimidate you if you're coming in at the novice level. You'll see a wonderful set of sessions for first-timers and things like tutorials and workshops, all meant to help meet you at the level that where you are, right? So there are, for example, tutorials that are accessible to those who are just newly being introduced to high performance computing, to help them sort of gain traction in the space, learn more about the space, so that one day they can be an expert in the space, delivering content rather than just learning from the content. It's a great space to connect and to grow your peer network, your professional network. Again, there's going to be thousands of people of different types: employers, educators, folks from research laboratories, folks from industry, folks from university and academia, right? All interested in HPC from one perspective or another. What that also means is that there's a lot of opportunities to advance your educational or your professional careers at the conference. Hopefully we've intrigued you enough that you were like, okay, this sounds very interesting, but it is also very high level. Specifically, what would it be like to attend the conference? It has 4 major components, and we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about those specific components. There's a student component, there's an exhibit floor, the largest exhibit floor of HPC content in the world. There's a technical program and a networking infrastructure component called SCinet. So first I'll talk about the SC technical program. And as I said before, it's the leading technical program for high-performance computing professionals and students. There are literally hundreds of sessions that are delivered by some of the most compelling, high-impact speakers. There are presentations, tutorials, panels, and a whole lot more that constitute the SC technical program. More specifically, one of the prominent parts of the technical program, and this, if you're familiar with conferences in general, you know that often there are papers, technical papers, research papers that are presented at a conference, right? So researchers will author a body of work, they will submit a paper, and then if the paper is accepted by the conference, you get an opportunity to present the paper at the conference. So there is a large session or of the large set of sessions that are about researchers from around the world presenting their technical research work, their papers in all the different areas of high performance computing that you saw on that previous slide, right? Where we talked about things like HPC networking or cloud computing or machine learning for HPC or algorithms or systems or what have you. That's what constitutes the technical program in general and the papers component in particular. For works that are earlier, so they're not yet ready to be published as a paper, but they represent interesting preliminary ideas. You will see researchers and students presenting posters that are sort of showcasing things that are on the cusp, right? So these are, late breaking new results that they are getting that they hope will one day turn into a larger body of research. But for now, they're looking to, again, share the preliminary or intermediate results that they have and also get feedback from the community. So there's a poster program that is a part of the technical program, and it typically has on the order of a couple hundred posters. In the paper session, they're typically on the order of 80 to 100 papers that are presented throughout the conference week. There are workshops that are typically held on the Monday and Friday of the conference. And these workshops represent mini symposia, right? Where, again, there'll be presentations, much like the technical paper presentations. However, these workshops tend to be on more specialized or focused topics. So, for example, there might be a workshop on performance analysis for time and applications on a machine that looks like X, right? Very focused topics. Let me give a real example of what a workshop might be. So, for example, there's a workshop on simulations and modeling for high performance computing. The way to sort of say, so posters usually represent the earliest works. Workshops often represent works that are sort of in their intermediate phase, and then papers usually represent works that have sort of been where there's been a comprehensive study that has been taken and a comprehensive body of results that the researchers are able to present. Tutorials are half-day or full-day sessions that are on a very specific topic, right? So, for example, there might be a tutorial on introduction to machine learning for high-performance computing, or an introduction to quantum computing, right? Or an intermediate tutorial on quantum computing. So the tutorials come in at different levels, but they're hands-on sessions meant to give you very tangible, practical skills that you can walk away with saying, for example, I know now how to use this tool that the workshop, or that the tutorial taught me to use. Typically, they're on the order of 30 to 40 tutorials, full day and half day tutorials, and these are typically on the Sunday and Monday before the conference. There's an award program at the conference where we recognize the great work and accomplishments by rising stars, by folks who have been in the field for a long time that have made a lasting impact. So there's an award session, there's birds of a feather sessions. So the way to imagine what a birds of a feather session is you can imagine a community forum or something like a town hall where it's very informal, a set of people gathered together, interested in a common topic, having informal discussions about that topic, right? So for example, it might be, the future of HPC in the presence of ChatGPT, right? If that were a concern, right? And it would be a bunch of people, you would know that for a session, birds of a feather sessions are typically 90 minutes. There would be a group of people in that room talking about that topic, right? And again, there are dozens of different birds of a feather topics. Right now, what I'm doing is giving you a high-level view of what the different pieces of the technical program would look like and what the different pieces of the conference would look like. In the end, we will point you to some links that take you to the conference's website where, for example, you can find out what are the sets of topics that were at the last SC conference for the Birds of a Feather session, et cetera, to give you much more grounded bearing. There's an early career program. Now, this one doesn't typically target students. It is for people who were recently students. So it's professionals in the first 5 years of their career. And it gives professional development advice for how you can be successful in the context of high performance computing. Students can go to these sessions, but typically there are other sessions that are much more targeted at students. And then there's panels where you will have, for example, Q&A, right? A moderated panel where there's a moderator, a set of experts in a particular space, whatever the topic of the panel would be, answering questions and sort of giving their perspectives on whatever the topic of the panel might be. There's also a set of sessions where we invite luminaries in the high performance computing space, right? So these are in the keynote. We have a keynote, a special keynote speaker. We have a set of plenary events and invited speakers. And these are meant to be captivating, thought-provoking leaders in our community, right? Who will inspire us, help us understand where high performance computing is going, right? What are the challenges and the trends in the space? Folks that have given keynote talks at the conference before include folks like Jack Dungara. He was our most recent keynote speaker. Vint Cerf, he was one of the founders of the internet. Arnold, Al Gore, former vice president of the United States, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, right? All these folks have been at the SC conference helping us to understand, inspire the community with thoughts of action for the works to come, the future to come. One of the major parts of the SC conference that makes it unique, right? So if you go to another high performance computing conference, you will see papers, you will see panels, you will see a lot of these things. You won't see them at the magnitude that you will find at SC. And we dare say you won't see them at the quality that you will find them at SC, but you will see them elsewhere. Very few other conferences have an exposition floor, an exhibits floor that is like what we have at SC. Very few academic conferences, right? For high performance computing, for that 1 week in wherever the conference is held, SC represents the largest aggregation of researchers, technologists, vendors from industry, academia, government labs from all over the world, showcasing their latest hardware, software technologies, their products, their services, the research that they're learning about, their innovations. So this is a gigantic part of the conference. I don't have the numbers on how much square footage of the conference conference center is occupied by the exhibits, but we typically have over 200 vendors in this space showing their wares, right? It's actually a very exciting part of the conference experience. More specifically, this is the part I just said, the exhibits at SC represent over 200 industry and research exhibits all over the world. There's an exhibitor forum where these vendors get an opportunity to give technical presentations that are more specific on the innovations and the products and services. These are meant to be not sales pitches, but again, technical presentations about the scientific and engineering advancements that are being made in their companies or in their organizations. There's a compelling list of exhibitors. It's the most comprehensive set of HPC organizations collected or aggregated in one place for 1 week. There's also a job fair, and I think Sally will talk a little bit more about this in her part of the presentation, which is upcoming, but for students. But the job fair actually sits on the exhibit floor, and we do that so that the participants in the job fair are actually close to the vendors that are on the exhibit floor, who are the ones that are actually also engaged in the job fair itself. For 1 week every year, the SC conference, thanks to SCinet. So SCinet is the networking infrastructure component of the conference. For 1 week, SC has the largest, the fastest computer network in the world, right? So there's dozens of volunteers that help to put together they design and implement the networking infrastructure, and they get support from industry vendors who provide hardware support, in-kind software support, et cetera, to deploy the largest network for 1 week. There are many other components to SCinet just beyond the networking infrastructure at the conference. They have, for example, a network research exhibition where network engineers showcase their latest experiments and demonstrations that display emerging networking innovations, right? So again, the cutting edge of high performance computing networks. They have a long and illustrious history, right? So there is a part of the display, a part of SCinet that talks about its inception at the very first SC and what the network looked like there, all the way to 36 years later, what the network will look like at SC23. There are programs within SCinet that are meant to help promote the careers of individuals, right? So there's a Women in Network Science, in networking. It's called WINS, the WINS program at SCinet. It's actually been a very successful program that brings women who are working in the IT space to the conference. They learn more about networking at its largest, most complex scales, and it just helps to promote and benefit their careers. There are other opportunities to participate in SCinet. Sally will talk about being a student volunteer in general. You can also be a student volunteer in SCinet if that is a part of the experience that interests you. So this is just a high-level overview of the SCinet component.
I'm honored to be chairing the Students at SC program. It's a program that means a lot to me, and I'll talk about my background with it too in the next slide. Okay, so here's my about me slide. So my undergraduate degrees were in mathematical science and computer science. During that time, I had no idea what supercomputing was. It wasn't something that we talked about during my computer science education. But I knew that I wanted to do something applied, and I got a computational biology fellowship at the University of Tennessee, which was a joint program actually with Oak Ridge National Lab. And when we went to the recruiting event, we toured Oak Ridge National Lab, and I saw my first supercomputer. And I knew it was something that I wanted to learn to work on. And during that time, I was just investigating opportunities, and I found out about the supercomputing conference, and I applied and was accepted through a program we used to have called the Broader Engagement Program, which was a program aimed at bringing in underrepresented people into high performance computing. So as a first generation college and woman in computing, I was able to attend that program. It's not a program we have anymore because we would like to take the philosophies behind that program to not only go through all of our student programs, but the entire conference overall. And after graduating, I went on to the University of Kentucky, where I am currently. I'm an assistant professor in the Division of Biomedical Informatics, and I also primarily work with our Cancer Center through our Cancer Research Informatics Shared Resource Facility. And I've also had the opportunity to continue engaging with national labs as a affiliate and visiting faculty at both Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and Lawrence Livermore National Lab. And my first year after graduating, I became a member of the organizing committee at Supercomputing, first through the broader engagement program, and I've mostly done stuff within the student programs because it meant a lot to me in my journey, and I've been heavily involved with our student volunteer program, mentoring, and school tours. And with my broad training, what I consider myself as a computational scientist working in biology, and that's the hat that I feel most comfortable wearing, although I feel like I have many hats. This next slide, we'll talk about some of the activities. One of the things we do is we have special student programming. So we try to complement the technical aspects that are already there as part of the Supercomputing Conference by doing things that are professional development and career preparation topics. Dorian mentioned that we have a job fair, so we do things to help prepare you for that, like doing resume reviews and doing elevator pitches and such. And those programs, you don't have to be part of our student SC cohorts. Those are open for really any conference attendee as well. And we organize tours. That's part of our outreach in the local community of wherever the Supercomputing Conference is held, where we work with local schools to kind of do a field trip where they come and get some presentations and go on guided tours of the exhibit floors. And our student volunteers help with this program as well by leading the tours. And as mentioned before, we have the job fair, and we've recently opened this up that it's actually not just a student-specific job fair, but any attendee is welcome to come at any stage of your career and making transitions. And as part of our sessions, I mentioned we help prepare you for that as well. Our lead volunteers is a graduation from our student volunteer program. The student volunteers is a program that helps bring you to the conference and helps with the organization of the conference. And then if you've been a student volunteer before, you can apply to be a lead, and then you're actually a committee member on the program committee, and you're teamed with a specific area of the conference, and you work closely with them, and you attend meetings ahead of the conference, and it's just a stepping stone to be on the conference committee after graduation. With all of our volunteer programs, housing is something that we offer to all of our volunteers. And then there's also travel support available, not to everyone, but by an application process and need. Our student cluster competition is teams of undergraduate students that build, operate, and tune their own computer clusters and benchmark different sets of applications. And we are actually having another webinar on that next week. And if that's something you're interested in, I'm not sure if the links made it in the slides, but it's something that you can contact us about if you would like more information on that.
So the links did not make it into the slides, but what we will do is we have your email addresses, since that's what you used to register, and we will make sure that we forward you information about the upcoming webinar that is going to be specific to the cluster competition.
Thanks. And NDSCC, which is an aspect of our student cluster competition, which is more inclusive and education focused. So this actually runs previous to the conference, the weekend before, and it is all online, and it's an opportunity for anyone that's interested in the student cluster competition. If they don't have the background and everything necessary to have a competitive student cluster competition application, the NDSCC is to help prepare them for it, and anyone can be involved. And some of our mentoring events, we have a mentor protege program. And again, you just need to be any student attending the conference. You don't have to be part of one of our students at SC cohorts to apply for this. And then other more seasoned HPC professionals can sign up to be mentors, and we do a one-on-one pairing and put you with a mentor. We have events at the conference that we encourage you to go to interact with your mentor. But also, if you're both busy, the match is made ahead of time and you're encouraged to interact via email, meet up at your own time and convenience. And the matching is based off of multiple things: your research interests, your goals for being matched with a mentor, your career objectives, and even personal interests. Our HPC immersion program is a program for undergraduates that don't have any experience in HPC. So it's a way to bring you in, teach you what it's about, and start building the community at an earlier stage and where we have not already had an impact. And a couple other things, sorry about that, is one of the really nice things that we do here is we do pair mentoring where like our lead student volunteers are one-on-one matched with students in the HPC immersion program. And we also do a program where the student volunteer leads actually take the students to the technical components of the conference and discuss with them what it means and how to, find content at the conference to go to, and really integrate you within the conference, as opposed to having like a program that is like a separate mini conference within itself.
And I would just add, it's there on the slide, but so in general, we talk about trying to make the entire conference accessible and welcoming as much as possible to everyone, and that there is a home for first-timers and newbies here. This HPC immersion program is only for folks who, for example, have never been to the conference before and are novices to HPC. So this is exactly that on-ramp if you're new to the space. I think we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide.
And also part of our mentoring program, we have an alumni networking event where conference attendees that are graduates from our student programs and past participants come to interact with our current participants and cohorts, just to continue building and further strengthening our network and community in HPC. And we also have a speed mentoring event where anyone that signed up through the mentor protege program is encouraged to come, but you have a chance to talk with multiple mentors, not just people that you're matched with, to have more opportunities on who you might engage with. And usually people are paired up in groups based off of topics. And so we also have ACM research competition. So this is part of the poster session. If you're submitting a poster with your research, you can apply to be part of one of the research competitions and have a chance to win and have your research highlighted and awarded in front of the broader SC audience. And there's also a doctoral showcase where you can submit your dissertation work and have a chance to present and give short talks on that. And Dorian already mentioned, it's not a part of the students at SC program, but we have an early career program, which is open to anyone that's in the early stage of their career. You don't have to be a past participant of the students at SC programs. And we also, depending on the year and the organizers, we usually have, some way of encouraging interaction between the students at SC cohorts and the early career programs through peer mentoring and such.
We've asked a couple people to offer some testimonials about their experiences at the conference. And in particular, we were looking for individuals who participated in the student program, but who also would assert, we think, you can ask them, that that the SC program itself and the student volunteer program is a large part of the reason why they are where they are in the HBC community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dan Dietz, who's going to offer the first testimonial. Hey, Dan.
Hello, thanks, Dorian. Yeah, so I'm Dan Dietz. I'm an HPC engineer at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So my first experience and first time attending SC was as a team member on the Purdue team at the Student Cluster Competition in 2010, which was in New Orleans. It was actually my first time coming to any kind of conference like this. I think just the whole experience of, there was all the training that we did for the SCC, building out the cluster, to bring to the show floor, the actual competition, and then of course attending the rest of the conference and all the other programming was an extremely valuable experience for me. At the time, I didn't really know what my career would look like just yet. I was undergrad in computer science, so I knew I wanted to do something computery, but that of course doesn't really narrow down very much. I had some experience with HBC prior to that. I had an internship at NCAR. I was working as a student part-time in Purdue's HPC Center, and then of course the whole SCC experience. But I don't think I really had the full picture and scope of what an HPC career would look like. I just kind of seen the bits and pieces up until then. So yeah, like I said, my first time attending SCC was definitely an eye-opening experience, walking onto the show floor for the first time and seeing the scale of everything. I think my eyes probably got twice as big just seeing how big the conference is. And then I started to think, hey, maybe this HPC thing is a thing that could work as a career for me. Just kind of seeing all of the cool and the variety of things that people are working on, you kind of get a feel for the career paths that folks are taking. And so yeah, I'd really say that participating in the student program is one of the things that really set my career in motion. And even today, I find it a valuable experience. I've been to nearly every SC since then. I find it a great way to stay plugged in, not only technical topics, but also networking, your own career, advancing your own career goals and those sorts of things. And I've had the honor of giving back to the conference. I've served on some of the committees in a few different capacities, and I'm looking forward to many SCs to come. And then I would say, my one piece of advice is you'll never know who you'll meet at SC. Maybe a future employer, grad advisor, mentor, or even make some friends. Or maybe you'll find a topic you didn't know about, and that's the one thing that sets your career off. And you definitely don't know, or you definitely won't know if you don't come and find out. I think not only all the programming that we've talked about, but just walking around the show floor and talking to the vendors, the universities and labs, find out the things that they're doing and find out the roles that people are taking in those institutions. I think there's really something for everybody, no matter how much experience you have with HPC. So yeah, I think this program and the conference is extremely valuable, and I can't recommend it enough, and hope to see you there.
Right. Thank you, Dan. And I wanted to touch a little bit on one thing Dan said, because he's right. We, in this presentation, are focusing a lot on the formal components of the conference that are very well organized and presented for you. But a large part of the experience is the informal opportunities you get from being in a space with thousands of people that in one way, shape, or form are interested in the same thing that you're interested in. So there's a lot of incidental opportunities that he's absolutely right. You never know which one of those opportunities, the formal or the informal, will be a life changer for you. Awesome. Thank you, Dan. And the next testimonial we'll get is from Veronica Melis Vergara, who also just happens to be from the Oak Ridge National Lab. So we didn't go to Oak Ridge looking for people. It just turns out that two of the people who are actually all a part of the SC23 committee, who've been a part of the student program, these two happen to also work at Oak Ridge. We don't know if that's a sign that if you participate in the SCinet program, eventually you will work at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Maybe it will, and if it is a sign, ORNL is a great place to work anyway. So, Veronica?
Thanks for the plug. ORNL is definitely a great place to work. But yeah, so as Dorian mentioned, my name is Veronica Manessa Vergara. I'm originally from Quito, Ecuador, but I've been in the US for a while. My first HPC awareness or involvement was through SC. I didn't know at the time I was in grad school for my master's in scientific computing, but I didn't really know, what I could have as a career after that. And one of my advisors there, I was working at their high performance computing center, but because Florida State happened to have, instead of a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship, they had a technical support assistantship, which I thought was cool, and I always liked working with computers, but I didn't necessarily think that I was going to continue to do in the future. But my supervisor, Jim Wilgenbush and Paul Vandermark, asked me to apply to this program. They were like, oh, there's a student volunteer experience. They'll pay for some of your expenses, and you get to go to a conference that I'd never heard of before. I was like, all right, cool. Sounds interesting. I'll apply. And I got in, and I was a student volunteer in SC10, the same year as Dan was Student Cluster Challenge student, but I don't know that we overlapped that much back then. But that was my first professional experience with supercomputing. And in a conference to begin with. Like, I had been to smaller meetings and stuff like that, but not like a professional conference at that size. So it was very eye-opening. I agree with Dan. Like, it was just seeing all the things that were there in both the exhibition and the technical program, and just the number of people working in the field, and the number of companies and organizations and universities that worked in HPC. I had no idea the scale of or the breadth of HPC. And also, once I started meeting people, the student programs was great. I was able to meet people that were colleagues and our friends today. And I still collaborate with many folks, including Dan, Sally. I met them back then, and we still work together. And I think it's a very great opportunity to just get to know the community and usually if you're a student, the people that you're working with alongside, whether you're doing an info booth somewhere, you talk to somebody new, maybe 2 years from now, they'll all be working in the same place as you or become a collaborator in the future. So definitely take advantage of those opportunities. And also you can receive mentorship as a student. Most people will recognize that you're a student volunteer because you'll be wearing a uniform, and they're happy to help you, and they're happy to answer your questions. If you're like, oh, I'm really interested in what your talk was about, people tend to be very welcoming and happy to answer questions you may have. And I've been attending SC since then. I was attendee and a volunteer in 2010, and then an attendee for a couple of years. And I started helping in the committee because it was a very impactful experience for me to attend the conference. So I wanted to help. And I just asked one year if they needed help. And I met people that became my bosses later, both at Purdue University, where I was first at, and then later at Oak Ridge. I met them through the conference. So originally, when I first attended SC, I had planned to finish my master's and maybe find a software job somewhere, which software engineering is fine, but I always had this interest in staying involved in science, and SC helped me find a place like that. National labs have science and technical skills in many of the places that industry that SC offers will help you find your own niche. So if I had any advice, give SC a try, give HPC a try. There's many aspects to HPC, and while a lot of the times you may think oh, that sounds too advanced or too complicated, or how am I gonna be involved, or how does that even impact me? HPC is there in more ways than you can think of, from weather simulations that are being done, supercomputers, to how they're designing the potato chips that you eat. HPC helps in many areas. So, and it requires many people, not just people that know computers. It requires people that can talk about HPC, science writer, educators, people that can actually explain the big impacts that high performance computing have. So it's not all about computing, even though a lot of it is. There's a skills that you can be used in HPC everywhere.
I just wanted to add to that. Thank you, Veronica, that 2010 was also my first year at SC. It was a big year, and kind of touching on what she said, I'm happy to call Veronica a friend. We, met up quite a few times in graduate school because of opportunities like this, and her and many other people that attend the conference are dear friends of mine. And SC has impacted more than just my professional life.
Well, I absolutely concur and appreciate that sentiment. It does become like a part of your family, right? And every November, you look forward to not just the professional activity that takes place at SC, but the mini reunion. Actually, maybe it's more than a mini, a large reunion of a lot of friends and family that, again, just happen to also be working in the same professional space with you. So as you can see, the SC experience for those of us that are here, and this is probably representative of what SC means to many, right? It's more than just the professional component of the conference, but it is community. It is, that's what the conference means. What's new for SC23, right? So SC23 is going to be in Denver. It's November 12th through 17th. So mark it on your calendars, and hopefully you're intrigued enough. The next slide will talk about the opportunities and the deadlines for applying to participate in the conference, to apply for support to get to the conference, etc. The tagline for SC23 is I am HPC. And it's a good segue from the end of that last conversation, which is it's meant to celebrate the people as much as it is to celebrate the technologies and the innovations that are HPC. And so there's a lot of things oriented around making sure that we don't forget that the reason why we are trying to advance technology, the reason why we're trying to learn new things about how the world of computing works, is to make the world a better place for people, right? So some of the exciting things, there's an HPC Illuminations Pavilion concept that we are going to put forth. So typically vendors or research booths pay for exhibit space. So that large exhibit space of a couple hundred vendors that we talked about, they are paying to be there because they understand the value of the opportunity to engage and reach the HPC community. But not everyone that can benefit from that value can afford their own research booth. So one of the things we're trying to do is create a more inclusive environment where there is a pathway for researchers that may not have the critical mass for their own research booth to also have an opportunity to present on the show floor. We've talked about the invited speaker themes. We, again, in the context or in the spirit of being more inclusive and focusing more on people, we've broadened the set of themes for the plenaries and invited speakers to not just include the very compelling technical content that we typically have, but also to include more people-focused or humanistic-focused elements like education, professional development, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusivity, and how all those things matter, both for the research that we do in HPC, but also the way that we approach the HPC community itself. Again, celebrating people, we will have a big celebration for SC, so there'll be a booth that is just about the 35th anniversary, and so it'll be meant to showcase the history of the conference from where we started to where we are today. One of the elements that we're excited about for this celebration is we are developing a hidden HPC figures, right? So we're again trying to uncover all the people that may be from groups or that aren't as well represented or recognized in HPC, and showcasing again the people of the space. So there's a bunch of things that we're actually really excited for the conference, in addition to all the things that we have come to know and love about the SC conference.
So one of our biggest programs under Student at SC is our Student Volunteer Program, which is the program where you get to come and assist with the goings on of the conference and make sure things run smoothly. The deadline for it is June 15th. You must be 18 years or older. And if accepted into the program, you have a reduced registration rate, provided lodging, and a limited number of travel grants available if you need assistance with travel as well. Your application requires just some basic background information, motivation statements, letter of recommendation, and prior experiences. And like I mentioned, that I started the conference through this broader engagement program, but that's the aspect that we're trying to, infuse through all of our student programs and the conference overall. So even if you do not think that you have a lot of experience and wouldn't make a compelling application, I really encourage you to still apply, because it's very important for us to grow our community and look at diversity as a bonus in our applications. And this is a program open to both undergraduate and graduate students.
Right. One thing that I would add, so Sally properly mentioned that in order to participate in the student volunteer program, which has support for attending the conference, reduced registration, lodging, and potentially travel as well, you have to be 18 years or older. Anyone can attend the conference. If you're 17 years or younger, you wouldn't be qualified to participate in the student volunteer program, but you would still be able to register and attend the program, with the added caveat that for folks 17 years or older, they would need an adult companion, whether that companion be a teacher or a parent or guardian with them. So if you happen to be 17 years or younger, you can still attend the conference. You'd have to have an adult companion, and you wouldn't qualify for the lodging and travel support mentioned here.
Okay. And another program with opportunities to help you attend the conference is our HPC immersion program, which is you're required to be a first timer and novice to high performance computing to be a part of this program. The deadline for this is June 26th. And this is a program that's supported by SIG HPC, which this is the special interest group in high performance computing. So you are, if accepted into this program, you'll have your lodging and travel automatically covered. And as I said, you must be first time to the conference and a novice to HPC. The application still needs background information and motivation statement, but it's expected that you do not have a background already in HPC, just a motivation to learn. And still requirement of letter of recommendation, but I think since it's expected that the cohorts of this would be earlier on in their education career, that they might not have the strongest letter of support. So if you're worried about that, we still encourage you to apply and email the chairs of that program and discuss it with them. And next is the student cluster competition. The deadline for that is May 15th. Again, you must be 18 years or older, and lodging and travel are provided with a complimentary registration. For this program, you do need a vendor partner and to help you with your hardware, and your application requires background information and description of your team and the hardware and software that you will be using. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there will be some webinars on this next week, and we'll provide more information on that to the email address that you registered with.
Right, and the email will come, but just in summary, the webinars are on Tuesday, April 25th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, and Thursday, April 27th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, we'll send out the emails, but that just gives you an idea of when the webinars will be. One is in the morning and one is in the evening to accommodate different time zones. And it will tell you all about the different cluster competitions and how you can potentially participate.
And then another thing that we haven't mentioned is it's not officially part of our Students at SC program, but there are opportunities to get travel support through SIG HPC. So there's no obligation to participate in our student programs if you receive this, but you would still have access to the student programming and different mentoring activities just by being a registered student. You don't have to be an official member of any of the cohorts. But the deadline for that is September 4th with a $600 to $1,200 potential for travel grants with complimentary registration. And the application requires a simple budget, motivation statement, letter of recommendation. And a complete application.
And so one thing you may notice is that none of these opportunities in where it says requirement says you must be, for example, a US citizen or a US permanent resident. These opportunities are available to anyone, anywhere, right? So if you're a student in Ghana or in Brazil, these opportunities are potentially available to you. We often get more applications than we have capacity to support. So at some point we have to select, but each year we have and we support students from all over the world to attend the conference. So if your question is, does this apply to me? Can I could potentially come? The answer is, as long as you meet the other requirements, yes, you should absolutely consider submitting an application to attend and for support to attend. We hope we've intrigued you. We hope, first of all, that we've informed you with why you should want to attend SC in November and beyond, right? Each November from that point onwards, and how to get involved, right? So that brings us to the end. If there are any questions, we're happy to take them. But before that, we'd like to thank you for your time and for giving us the opportunity to share what has been a great part of our journey and what we hope becomes a great part of your journey. Thank you.